The purpose of this particular presentation is to give you a brief idea of what a protocol designing means. Now, my purpose out here is to just ease out the research methodology, just to ease out or help out people who had or who are willing to go up, take a protocol, to write a protocol, to take up research, and they have no idea about how to proceed ahead. So this series of presentation would be helping you in taking up any research protocol. I just give a brief outline of how we have to proceed ahead with the research, and in coming days, coming few days, I will be just taking up more and more presentations on how to go ahead with various other steps that are involved. So today I will be starting with the basic step of protocol designing, and so what does this protocol designing simply mean? Protocol designing as such, when we go for a protocol designing, the first thing we need to know is, or we need to take care is the learning objectives that are there. The learning objectives of this particular session would be that by the end of the session, I would like you to know, or you would be able to understand what is research. You would be able to identify the components of a search protocol. You would be able to explain the role of each part within the overall process of protocol development. You would be able to understand the importance of research protocol, and at least briefly or maybe vaguely you might be able to even write a research protocol. So this is the aim, or these are learning objectives that I plan or tend to go up with this particular session. So we start with the basic thing, that what this particular term research means. Research is a systematic collection, analysis, and interpretation of data to answer a certain question or solve a problem. So out here, our highlight is the highlight that we are talking, or the areas where we are highlighting is that it is a systematic collection, the first and foremost, followed by analysis and interpretation of data to give a meaning to a data, to a particular question, or to a particular problem that we have hypothesized. That is what the purpose of this particular protocol designing is. The other definition of research is that it helps to provide scientific understandings, it solves the practical problems, and can change people's life by improving the health and well-being. Now, before you take up protocol designing, these are three questions that you need to answer: what, why, and how. The first question is, what do you want to study? What is your research question? The second one is it really important? Do you think that is your question, study question is important, you want to go ahead with it? And once you realize that your study question is important, how you would proceed, how you are going to do it. These are the three things that should be clear in your mind before you take up protocol writing. Now, we are talking about protocol. What does a protocol mean? So if we go by the ICH Good Clinical Practice Guidelines, a protocol is a document that describes the objective or objectives, design, methodology, statistical consideration, and organization of the trial. So what it does is, this protocol, it would also give you the background and rationale for the trial. Now, why do we want a protocol? We want a protocol because there are certain things that we need to look for. We need to clarify the research question, whether the research question that we are talking about, is it valid? Is it really known to what we should do? Should we really work upon it? What is the existing knowledge on this particular topic? How do we want to formulate a hypothesis and secondary objectives? How do we decide about a study design? Any ethical consideration that is there that should be clarified. Are we going for any funding agencies? Do we want to apply the protocol, or be a non-funded research? And to have a guideline and tool for the research team, because there would be a standard set of protocol, and this particular protocol, you would follow this particular standard set, so that you can, each and everyone, whoever are this part of the study team, whether it is 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, and maybe more than that, they can follow a particular guideline. So this protocol sets a guideline for the entire team. The team does not deviate from this particular guideline of research protocol. That is the reason we look for, or we want to go for, a protocol. So before we go into the details of the protocol, or we go into the nitty-gritties of the protocol, what we need to keep in mind is what is the audience that we are catering. Is this audience the other physicians that are looking for a particular research answer? Is it the nurses or the CRAs? Is it the institutional review board members? Or is this particular research for scientific reviewers? So keeping this particular audience in mind, we need to design our protocol. Now, basically the protocol consists of, or whenever we talk about a research design, the standard research design, it consists of M, R, and D. IM, which is also known as an Embrad model. I is the introduction, M is the methodology, R is the result, and D is the discussion. So here I'll start with an alphabetical soup of protocol, which we include is A, B, C, D, and E, F. A is what is the aim of the study, B is what is the background, C is what is the criteria for selection of withdrawal, D is the design or drug intervention, E is the ethics, the examination of the patients, the endpoints that we are looking for, and F is the figures or the statistics and the flow chart of activity. So aims, background, criteria, design or drug, ethics, examination endpoints, figures, and flowcharts. This is the A, B, C, D, E, and F model for protocol designing. So before we go into a protocol designing, the first thing that we should do is we should map out our study schedule. Now this is just a hypothetical example where we have mapped out that the patient or the person has to visit a particular center 3 times and then he has a follow-up. These 3 visits are planned at day 0, day 10 and day 20. Between day 0 and day 10 where the patient is randomized, let's say this is a particular short period, a period where no drug is given. And then day 10 and day 20 you have the clinical assessment followed by maybe you called for a follow-up visit which might have been after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months or whatever it is. So first thing that we need to chalk out is what are the various procedures or various things that we are going to perform during these visits. Now supposedly in the baseline or day 0 visit we would take the informed consent of the patient, we would verify the criteria, including exclusion criteria, we would take up the medical history, we would go for primary diagnosis and clinical assessment. This clinical assessment would be again done on the day of randomization at day 20 of the visit and maybe at the follow-up. Randomization would only be done once, that is the day that is allowed. Adverse event, if it is a drug related trial, would be at day 10, 20 and follow-up. And if there is any relapse, that would be taken up at the follow-up visit. So this is just a brief view. It could vary in different studies. This is just one study where we say we are giving a drug, that is why we are talking about an adverse event. Now coming to the first part, that is your title of the protocol. The title must reflect the central theme, what you want to do, or it is the USP of your protocol. It is a selling point. This title should be easy and attractive. It should be attractive so that it attracts the audience and it should be easy to understand. No, it should not be a full of jargons of words that this is maybe randomized, double-blind, prospective, non-randomized, control, whatever it is. It should be easy to understand and it should be concise and informative. Normally it is said that this title should be less than 25 words. So what we generally, there is one particular thing that we tend to do is we tend to start our title with a study of. That is not required. This is totally a non-informative word. Maybe I would say, let's say it is comparative efficacy or comparative safety and efficacy of drug A versus drug B, or something like that, similar to this particular term. I don't need to mention it is a study of comparison of this with drug A and drug B. It would be better that I simply start with, so that this particular title, it conveys the message that I want to give, as well as at the same point of time, it tends to highlight what is my research area. Coming to the background. Background is what exactly is the present literature that is there, and what is the lacuna in that particular literature that you are trying to address. It would be more of it. It would be like something like an introduction where you briefly sketch the background of the proposal. Why? What is the reason? What is the existing problem? What is the general situation? How is this particular problem developing? What are the various? What will happen if we don't check this problem? What has been done so far, and what has been the effect? So this is where I'm telling that we tend to add the lacuna. This is the lacuna that I'm going to add. Specifically identify the gaps. We need to identify the gaps of the proposed research so that we know what to do, what we want to do, and why this particular research proposal is a good idea, because maybe I am trying to ascertain a gap that has been told about. And we need to state concisely the importance of what our research is. You should concisely and clearly state the importance of a study. Emphasize on any novelty or innovation. Are we going to do something extra? Whatever has been done, are we going to add up to this thing? Or whatever has been done, I am going to add something new to this particular innovation, to this particular research question. So this particular background, it conveys the significance of a research to scientific contribution to improving, to any improvement in the public health, to change in health policies, and even a change in patient's care. Now coming to the study objectives. One is the aim, the other is the objective. Aim is what you are going to do, and objectives is how you are going to attain that particular aim. Now supposedly my study was, I want to compare the safety and efficacy of drug A versus drug B. So my objectives would be something like to study or it would be like assess the safety of drug A, assess the safety of drug B, assess the efficacy of drug A, assess the efficacy of drug B, and then to compare the safety and efficacy of drug A and drug B. Because I have to take care of all these points. I have to assess efficacy of drug A as compared to baseline, and safety also of that particular drug as compared to baseline. So aim is something like winning a football. We want to win a football match. Objective is what we are going to do. So this particular objective would describe concisely and realistically what is the specific research is intended to accomplish. We should avoid grandiose design, over-ambitious proposal that aims to do everything. We want 15. I want to mention the cost, effectiveness, safety, efficacy. Maybe I even want to go for all the other procedures that I want to go for the quality of life, or maybe something else. So that is an over-ambitious project. Trying to do too many things is always avoided. Let it be very simple and it should be clear. That is what your objective should be. Hypothesis is, when hypothesis mainly means whenever we start a study, we have some background knowledge in our mind, and based upon that background knowledge, we tend to generate a hypothesis. So we tend to list the specific aims one by one, and there should not be too many aims. Only 2 to 4 are best. We should be very specific, no general or ambiguous statement. We should be realistic, no unachievable aims. And this aim should be logically linked and arranged accordingly. Testing your hypothesis. There are two types, null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. We tend to go for a null hypothesis where we observe that there is both the groups or both the studies, there is no difference between both the treatment groups. And if there is any difference, then this null hypothesis is rejected. So at the starting, we tend to mind that both the groups are comparable. If we are talking about two groups, we say both the groups are comparable. And whether we want to refute it or accept it, that is what null hypothesis or alternate hypothesis deals with. Maybe we can have a different session on how this hypothesis is generated and what is null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. At this time, it is mainly concerned that we want to check that we are comparing two drugs. I'm giving an example of drug A and B. So I presume in the beginning and with the literature, present literature available, I find that both these drugs are equally effective. So I am having a null hypothesis that both these drugs are effective and there is no difference between both the treatment arms. If there is any treatment difference, that would further clarify our hypothesis. Then the next step is to develop the study design. A study design is a researcher's overall plan to obtain the answer to the question that is being asked and the hypothesis that is being tested. It spells out the strategies to develop information that is accurate, objective, and meaningful, and it explains the methods that will be used to collect and analyze data. We'll be coming about various study designs that I have a few slides. Now, let's say there are certain research designs that I mentioned out here. Let's say if the purpose of our study is to determine the frequency and burden of a disease, we go for a cross-sectional survey, which finds out the prevalence, and we go for a cohort study, we want to find out the incidence. To identify the risk factors, we go for cohort study or case control study. To determine the prognosis of a disease, we go for a cohort study. To determine efficacy or effectiveness of a new treatment, it is a clinical trial or community intervention. And evaluation studies are done if you want to evaluate a community program. Then the next thing is feasibility. How we should go ahead with the study subjects, the study population that we are talking about. Because as I believe I'm mentioning out here, subject is a term which is no longer used in clinical research. So what does this feasibility take into account? It takes into account the sample size, which has to be estimated. Who are the patients you are going to include? What is the selection criteria? How we are going to sample these patients? And what is the time span for meeting the sample size? These are the areas that we need to address if you want to check the feasibility of this particular study. Now, coming to the study population and method of recruitment, we have to describe clearly what type of patients will be studied. How will these patients be identified? What would be the inclusion and exclusion criteria in these patients? We would describe each step involved in recruitment of these patients. We would describe the role of research personnel in this process, and there has to be a mention of informed consent. Informed consent is a totally different separate topic which we'll be talking about in coming days. So these are the things that we need to take care. How we are going to collect the data, that comes next, and how do we go for quality control. These things have to be mentioned in your protocol. All these things are to be mentioned if you want your protocol to go ahead nicely in a smooth manner. We also mentioned the statistical tests that we are going to use upon. What are the various statistical tests that we will be following upon? How will this particular data be analyzed? We need to list out the appropriate statistical test, whether we are using parametric test, non-parametric test, how we are data be tabulated, whether we will be using mean plus standard deviation, or we will be using mode, median, or we are using maybe nominal data or ordinal data. Whatever data we are using, we need to mention all these specific things in the statistical analysis that is also to be mentioned or is a part of your references. Then once you have done everything, the list of references should be at the end of the proposal. You should name all the authors, title of the publication, the name of the journal, year, volume, page number. This is one particular pattern. Then there is a Vancouver style. This particular pattern tends to follow the Vancouver style. There is Harvard style and many other styles. Now that depends upon what the particular agency or the particular institute wants from you. How that particular agency wants your referencing to be done, you have to do the referencing accordingly. What are the benefits of writing a proposal? Now, once you have written the proposal, ideal thing would be you keep this proposal in your drawer for 3 months. Then after 3 months, bring it out, and then you would find you review it. There is another term that is used, that is peer review. You have written a protocol and you go for peer review. You tell your peers to look into this particular protocol and accordingly you further take care of this particular protocol. So the benefits of writing a research proposal would be it allows you to review and critically evaluate the published literature of your interested topic. It develops novel idea during writing proposal. It is to convince yourself and others that your research is worth doing, and it would keep you focused on your research work. You know the way you have to proceed on. This is one thing that is known as the Gantt chart. This is another thing that you need to do. You make up a plan of maybe 6 months or 1 year how you are going to go follow up a particular protocol and what you are going to do. So that it is like a work plan where you design, designate tasks, who will be responsible, when this particular task would be done, and where this particular task would be done. So the first thing is we start with uh, training of the whole staff, or we meet the clinical staff and we train them. Then we tend to, in the same month, we tend to meet the district management. We design the questionnaire. We train the field workers. We go for data collection. Then we go for analysis, meeting with clinical staff and district management, write a full report, write up the policy, and then meeting with clinical staff and discuss the result. So this is just to maybe in this particular phenomena, what we could add is, yeah, approval from the ethics committee, approval from the research committee, and so on and so on. So that would give a time frame, and it would ease up the convenience of going ahead with your workplace. This is the purpose of making a chart, and this chart would vary depending upon the type of study that you are taking, the amount of people or the number of people that you are collaborating with, and the number of people that you need to train or you need to impart training to. So this particular chart, it would roll out a plan for you to devise to go ahead with this particular process. Now, if we want to talk about in a nutshell what these writing strategies are. The first thing is that you need to get into the mood of writing the research proposal. Once you have written the research proposal, you write the first draft. It is mentioned the first draft. Once your first draft is ready, you start revising. Maybe the second draft, third draft, fourth draft, fifth draft, and so on. This revision keeps on going, and then you reach the finish line. Now, one thing that is best done is always whenever you are writing a research protocol, save your research protocol as the first draft, the second draft, the third draft, the fourth draft, the fifth draft, and so on. So what will happen with that is it helps you, eases you out regarding the changes that you have been doing or you have done in the various protocols that you have written. The first draft, the second draft, the third draft, and so on. You have to save multiple copies. Keep on saving. Don't hesitate to save. If you have difficulty, you can even write down the date of when you made this particular draft. So that would give you a plan how you want to go ahead. Now, there are certain common mistakes that are done by people when they tend to write these research protocols. The first thing is they include too little details about proposed studies, and there is an insufficient justification for the significance of the problem. And they are proposing far more work than can be reasonably done during the grant. Like supposedly I say I have a study of 2 months duration, I want to complete the study of 2 months duration, and I have a follow-up of 6 weeks. So that means I am effectively left with only 15 days. In the first 15 days, I have to include all the patients or all the study or all the participants that will be enrolled in the study. Because 6 weeks is the follow-up, and by 2 months I have to complete the study. So that is what it means that you are proposing far more work that can be reasonably done during the grant period. So whenever you are designing a study protocol, you need to keep into account these following things. You need to look into the scientific consideration, you need to look into the practical consideration, you need to look into the ethical issues, and also you need to have a record of the data that you have collected. And one of the forms in which you can collect the data is the case record forms. We will discuss this case record form in the coming weeks, how we have proceed ahead with this. So today what we have done is we have discussed about the various things. First we start with the background, then we go for the intern objectives, the study design, the study population, the inclusion and exclusion criteria, the procedure or the parameters to assess, and the statistical analysis. So A was the aims, B was the background, then we have the criteria, D was the population and whatever design that we were following, E was the endpoint and the examination, and then we had the follow-up and analysis. So this finishes the topic of protocol designing. I hope you liked it, and if you liked it, please like this. And if you have any queries, do put it in the inbox and I'll get back to you. Thank you so much.